Okay. I am animating lightning strikes. Let me just make sure everything's getting ready here. Doobie doobie doo. Doobie doobie doo. Alright. Greetings. This is Mike Bizan. And in this live stream, we'll be animating lightning strikes. And the order of business here is I'll just do a little demo of a formula for animating lightning that you can apply to your own animation, as well as I'm going to be cleaning up some rough animation I already did. So I'll show you. I did this, well, I have all my layers on, hold on. So I got this one, and I'm doing this at 15 frames a second for reference. This is just like a strike that comes straight down, and then it goes white, and then kind of reverses its shape a couple of times, and then dissipates, and the smaller secondary lines are like static and they kind of flicker. And then at the bottom here, there's a little extra little piece of energy that shoots out. So that's one lightning strike. And then another one I have here is this one that comes up from the top right of the screen. And this one's kind of more like a blast that shoots in. It's gonna kind of form like a branch, a tree branch that zips all around and zags around. And then I got this one. It's the same one. Hold on. And then this one, which is just like a shock wave or some kind of blast. And yeah, actually the main reason I'm making these is because I'm working on transitions. So I'm making some overlays that can be used to transition seamlessly from one shot to the next. And for a lightning strike, the transition would happen when the entire screen is covered with a solid cover. And then from here, you can add the second scene and it'll cut to a new scene. So that's kind of what I'm doing. But if you want to animate lightning, here's a simple formula to animate lightning. So basically, I'll just create a new layer, and the lightning is going to strike right here. And I'm just going to draw a vertical line just for a guide. And what this will help with is getting a interesting zigzag shape. So the first thing I'm actually going to do is just using this vertical line as a guide, create some kind of zigzaggy shape. You know, lightnings can be pretty random, so you can just kind of do whatever you want here. But just draw like this, feel out this kind of energetic zigzaggy shape actually. And then I'm just gonna flesh this out a little bit and have the corners and the parts where the turns happen, make that a little thicker, because it can get thicker and more shapy on the turns. So something like this, and kind of block in these zags. And so there's like a zigzaggy shape. It doesn't have to be a zigzag though, it can be anything. It can be more, you know, like this, which I actually think I kind of like this one more already, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do this one, because this one's a little too cartoony for what I'm wanting to show. So once you get your main frame in, we're just gonna work backwards here. Pull this over a little bit, and now I'm going to just draw it coming in from the top like this. And this is just gonna be one frame. It's kind of like pointing down like this. So already there's something happening there. So when it hits, I'm actually gonna turn my lightbox on, and I'm just gonna have this shape that I have here, this key shape, exaggerate outwards, almost like it's pushing down. And again, this is the rough animation, so I'm really just concerned with getting the timing and the spacing of this. It's not about having clean or pretty drawings yet. It's just about getting some kind of interesting flow happening. So then basically I make the entire frame white, and then I'm gonna have this zigzag out in the opposite direction now, like this. So when you have these contrasting shapes, it makes it a little more dynamic. So you can imagine the flash happening. I'm actually going to draw a vertical line that comes down now. Get rid of my guideline. Let's see here. All right. And then we're gonna have the shape. My brain is messing up. Hold up. Okay, so down here, I'm actually gonna have the bottom part where it hit the ground kind of shoot out energy now. Almost like a water splash. It doesn't have to. There's a billion different ways to animate lightning. This is just how I'm doing it in this example. So then I'll have the static shooting out more. And I'm gonna have this vertical line getting thicker, like the light energy is shooting down towards the ground. And it's gonna travel down to the ground and then start to dissipate. Let's just see how this looks right now. So this, I'm not super in love with what I just drew, but this is a way to draw lightning. Is basically you just have, I just start out with this frame here, this contact position. So we have the contact. This is the first thing I draw, and then I draw the lightning entering the frame. But if you look at lightning videos, you'll notice that a lot of times the lightning just immediately happens on the contact. So you might not even need this one coming in, but it can just help it, you know, prepare people to see what's about to happen, to have one little frame where it's starting to come into the screen. And then it shoots down, and then maybe it squashes a little bit on impact. You don't have to do that. You could just cut right to the white flash, and then it zigzags in the opposite direction. So we have here, then here. So you have these zigzags happening in the opposite direction. And then we're gonna have a vertical line shoot down and just have like a secondary line going around the vertical line that is a little bit softer. And then turn my lightbox on, and we'll just start to dissipate this secondary line, have the pieces shrinking inside themselves. And you could even do something like where you don't draw it every frame and have it like stutter, let me show you an example. So like just imagine this is a piece of electricity, then I create a blank frame, and then trace over it, create a blank frame, make it smaller, create a blank frame, make it smaller, create a blank frame, and then it'll look like this. It'll be a stuttery static type of thing. That's just something you could do, but I'm not going to do that on this example. But it's just another demonstration of how there's a billion different ways you can animate lightning. There's no like one right way. It's all about the effect you're going for. So I'm just going to continue dissipating these lines. And kind of create like a little staticky thing happening at the bottom here. So let's see what this looks like now. Okay. You can also do something like, maybe I'll extend this white frame out a little bit and draw a black version of the lightning. And this will kind of create like a slight strobing effect. So let's just see what this looks like. So that already looks better to me. So I drew this black in between these two contrasting shapes of the white lightning. But with this black version of the lightning over the white background, it creates a more snappy contrast. So there is another way to do it. Yeah. So again, this isn't, I'll probably make a better, proper lightning tutorial. This was just off the top of my head, and I'm not really married to this, but just wanted to show you, like, you know, it's not that hard to just get something sort of interesting going with a lightning strike. And let's see here. Okay, actually I'll just draw another just to show another example. So this one I'm actually gonna start out with the first frame is gonna be white, because if you watch lightning videos, a lot of times it starts out with a flash, and then there's a blank frame, and then you see this big lightning strike that hits the ground. I'm just gonna have it kind of coming in from the side here. Okay, so there's a big lightning strike that hits the ground, and maybe the next frame it's gonna get even bigger. So we'll make it bigger, and more or less keeping the exact same shape. So this one's not really contrasting itself, it's just expanding in size. Actually, hold on a second. Maybe, hold on a second. Actually, scrap what I just said about it getting bigger. It's not going to get bigger. Hold on a second. I'm thinking in opposites here. It starts out big, and then it's going to get smaller. I'm going to reverse these. Whoops. See here, reverse. I'm trying to learn Blender grease pencil, but I'm working in TV Paint right now. So I'm just gonna get rid of this frame. This is April Foolish. Anyways, so then then the lightning happens, and then it just dissipates. That was terrible. Whatever. So there's a different way you can draw kind of crappy lightning. So whatever. Anyways, I'll go back to this one. So here's the other lightning I was working on. The cleanup of this one. And I'm just gonna get back to cleaning up this one, because anyways, I'm not feeling super articulate anymore. Yeah, on this one, so I'm repeating some frames, so I'm gonna copy and paste it. Sometimes you don't have to redraw stuff. So this frame is the same as this one with a black background. I'm just gonna paste it. Well, it is almost the new year. Does anyone have any goals for 2025? I've kind of changed my perception on goals. I mean, I still have goals, but sometimes it can be too much pressure to have really big goals to do in a single year. So I find that sometimes it's better not so much to focus on goals, but rather focus on processes. Focus on the processes that will help you achieve whatever your goals are. So for instance, I don't know anything about losing weight, and if anything, I've had trouble gaining weight, but I know some things I've heard is that it can be more helpful, instead of trying to say you're gonna lose like 50 pounds, it's better to focus on the routines and the things that'll make you feel better and healthy. And I guess a better example would be drawing. So say you want to get good at anatomy, and I do want to get good at anatomy, but instead of just saying I'm going to get good at anatomy this year, you have to have a clear process. Like the goal is get good at anatomy, but that having a goal doesn't mean anything unless you have a routine that turns that achieving that goal into a natural byproduct of a process. So in this case, the process would be studying life drawing, doing gesture drawing, studying anatomy, reading anatomy. That's the process that helps you get to that goal, and the goal doesn't even have to have like a expiration date. It can be a lifelong goal, because you should never stop learning. So that's just how I think about the New Year's resolutions is don't hype up the goals, but figure out what's the logical process that you can start to incorporate into your life to make yourself better at whatever you're wanting to improve in. I'll read the chat. How do you get the motivation to actually finish the animation? I always start them, but always seem to quickly lose interest. Yes, animation can be a very time-consuming, isolating thing. I'd say, well, so the more projects you finish, the more confident you'll get at knowing that you can finish stuff. So I would say, for one thing, try not to start too many things, because it'll be tempting to just keep moving on whenever you hit that wall or you get tired of it. You could also ask yourself, really do a hard look at what you're doing and ask, is this beyond what I'm currently capable of at the moment? For instance, if you want to make like a 90-minute feature-length animation, that's going to be a heck of a lot harder to finish than a 90-second animation, and you're more likely to get discouraged because of it. So consider the scope of what you're trying to make. Try to just, if you're having trouble finishing anything, consider working on projects that are much smaller, maybe a few seconds long, maybe just a small little loop. And it's like a Pokemon game where the more projects you finish, the more experience points you get, the more you level up, the more confident you get. And also break things into manageable chunks. Obviously, the more complex an idea is, the more steps there's going to be, the more planning, the more thumbnailing, the more storyboarding, and try to get any corrections you can at the earliest stages of the process. Because once you go into cleanup and coloring, then any changes you make, it changes the whole pipeline, where you have to, if you're going to redo the cleanup on a bunch of frames, then you really also have to redo the rough animation, because changing one frame changes the relationship of all the frames around that frame. So yeah, just don't give up. Do it one step at a time, manageable, bite-sized pieces. And I'm saying this as someone who has a lot of projects that have been on the back burner forever. But like for today, for instance, I just started working on music again. I haven't really been doing music for a long time, but it felt really good just to write some stuff and record little demos of it. And it's nothing finished, but it's something that at least the demos are there, and it can wiggle around in my subconscious, and I can come back to it eventually with fresh ears. And yeah, it's just getting some little thing out there, because we're very forgetful creatures, and everything that's worthwhile takes a lot of time. So just be kind to yourself. And one of my favorite things is wabi sabi, which is the philosophy that nothing is perfect, nothing is finished, and something else about simplicity. I can't remember, but there's like three ideas in there that help with a more perfectionist type of mindset, to just go with the flow. And like, the value of planning is still there, but it's more about not obsessing over the end result, but going with the flow, and yeah, just being a creature that creates things without too much worrying about the how it's going to turn out, but you're still trying your best to make it turn out good. Something I noticed about drawing lightning is there is kind of some similarities to fire. I mean, you can make lightning more liquidy, or you can make it more fiery. You can imbue other elements into it to change the style around. But I think one of the main visual design motifs in lightning is this sort of zigzaggy type shape. And of course, some lightning is more like tree branches. If you look at videos of lightning, there's quite a wide variety of different ways lightning can strike. Sometimes you'll see it hit around the same area twice, but in a slightly different way. So that could be a fun thing to do with lightning animation, is animate it striking twice. Could make the first strike a little bit wimpier, and then the second strike could be twice as strong. And I'm drawing this with black lines, but of course I'm gonna invert these lines to white once I go into coloring and make this all flat colors. I might add like a glow effect to the shapes here. Oh, did I already draw that one? Oh my goodness. I think I just drew a frame I already drew once before. This is April Foolish. I'm gonna have this stuff starting to dissipate and having this shrink into a skinny vertical lines here and there with the corners turning more triangular. Like the energy is bundling up at the corner here. And the lightning strikes will start to separate from the main body, like right here. It's separating now. So I'm also doing this because I want to expand my 2D effects animation reel. I'd like to start working on projects with companies and commercial studios where I basically just work on effects animation. Gonna really try the next few months to do more commercial gigs and yeah, just hopefully do a little bit of that kind of stuff. So here the thing shrinks a bunch, and then I'm gonna have it kind of expand out a bunch, and then it's gonna shrink again. Let's kind of do this expand, shrink, expand, and then dissipate all staticky. I've been listening to the Home Movie soundtrack all day by Brendan Small. I just started watching Home Movies. I had seen it a couple of times on Adult Swim when I was a kid, and I thought it was pretty funny, but I also didn't really understand it. But now I can see how much of an influence it's had on a lot of internet animators and just like the vibe of it. I'm on season 2 now, but season 1 was all squiggly and wiggly. Everything had a line boil. They used squiggle vision, but it has very minimal animation. It's mostly just no animation, but the wiggly lines help it to feel like stuff is still moving. A lot of people didn't like that, but I think it looks cool. But I am noticing once they move to flash animation, they're adding a little bit more movement in the characters, but the lines are static now. And then the script writing, especially on season 1, was like pretty much completely improvised. They would just give the voice actors an outline of what the topics would be, and then just record them just making stuff up based on the outline and riffing off each other. They'd end up with hours and hours of dialogue and then edit the show out of that. And they called it retro scripting. That's a pretty creative idea, and it's very similar to what a lot of a lot of YouTube animators do with say like the Game Grumps, how they like say silly stuff while they're playing games, and then some YouTuber will animate what they're saying. That's kind of the exact process of retro scripting from home movies, and they were the first ones to do that. But yeah, the music is really fun. It kind of reminds me of Jack Strober, how it's just like these little 30-second to 1 minute little ditties, and they're just like really silly, fun-spirited, or quirky, or weird. And so that's why I was inspired today to make music, because I want to try to start experimenting in that style, to create little short songs and use that as the basis for doing little animations, because it would ideally not take so long as a full-length music video. And it's also an interesting way to test out new animation styles, like 3D in Blender, or like claymation style in Blender, or just like any different style in Blender. But I need to learn Blender, and I don't know how to do Blender very good. But I have been animating in Grease Pencil, and I'm getting the basics of it in. But there's so many different things you can learn, like modeling and the rigging, all that stuff. So you notice a lot of these shapes, it has a kind of more shapy, complex curves and stuff, contrasted to the other side, which is more swooping or simple. Like for instance over here, up here, there's like all the zigzags up here, but this inside part, interior part, is just a basic kind of globular circular shape going around here. So that kind of contrasts these triangular shapes with the more circle shapes inside. It's just a way to make it, like if you made everything straight or everything zigzaggy and sharp, it would start to look samey. And it also helps to dictate the direction of the lightning strikes. Like these zigzags are like arrows pointing where it's going. I've also been taking a lot of notes, writing a lot for ideas for animation courses, working on a super duper beginners course right now, and yeah, it's in the works. Well, I don't really have anything else to say, so I'm trying to get back into streaming and stuff, but my brain is a little bit lagging. You can join the email course on the link in the description, and you'll be notified of the release of the future courses.